All right, welcome to Talking Solutions. I'm Jonathan Popsaffer, and we're here today with Wendy MoMa Michel. Would you like to introduce yourself to the people?
Hey everyone, my name is Wendy MoMa Michel. I am an artist and founder of MINDART, a creative wellness company where we use art to design therapies.
Wonderful. Thank you for coming on the show today.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Um, so, why don't you tell me a bit about? I'd like to hear about your background, your journey, how you got to where you are, and a bit about, you know, what you're doing right now and how if somebody wanted to pursue and do what you do, what kind of
Mm.
advice would you give them?
Okay. So, mm, so I'm Haitian American. Um, my background sits at the intersection of art, design, and therapy, and marketing and community development. Earlier in my career, I was developing brands and impact campaigns for companies like Beats by Dre, BET, Def Jam Records. But at the same time, I was deeply embedded in the community, and I was also deeply embedded in my own healing process. Um, as I was kind of navigating the landscape, I kept seeing a gap. It was really difficult to be able to continue to do the work in the for-profit Fortune 500 sector while also honoring my own needs in terms of healing and wellness. And those two typically aren't something that you merge, right? So, there was incredibly talented people that I was working with and I was working for. I was meeting founders and activists and hearing so many powerful stories, but they didn't always have language. And there was always this like really rushed way of producing um, content and brands, right? And it was kind of following the traditional capitalistic process or corporate process, which I think was really intended for us to work, 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 and not really honoring like the nervous system and us as humans. And being that, of course, now I can use this language as, identify, neurodivergent and we're there's so much more language that we can use now to identify different types of people. But back then that was really foreign. And so I had to figure out a therapy for myself because I couldn't find it elsewhere. I couldn't find something that was unique to my story and the complexity for my being and who I am. And so I turned to my art, one year in 2016 after struggling with my mental health. But because I'm high performing and high producing, folks had a really hard time even accepting that I was struggling. So, even therapists were like, "Well, but you're doing great. You know so much. You're naming everything really well." And I'm like, "I still need help." Right? And
Yeah.
then at work, it was like, "Girl, you're the best, you perform really well. Like you do really great work. There's no way that you could be struggling." So, in 2016, I was praying and I was meditating and I heard the Lord say, "Create, it will free you." And so I started working on a drawing. I started creating, and this is actually the full crown drawing here. Shout out to Ferb, my mentor, who tattooed on me. And I was really shocked and surprised by what I saw. I'm a classically trained oil painter. If you're familiar with my work, you know that I, create very visceral paintings, portraits, body of work. And so I'm not really like a line artist or like a illustrator. And that's when I knew that I was channeling from something from somewhere else. I was really receiving a message from spirit. So I tapped back into that prayer closet, and I heard a second set of direction, which was explore this the way you explore your life. And I started dancing when I was in the sixth grade, and I like really fell in love with it. I fell in love with what it did for my soul, and it also protected me from bullies back then And so I was like, okay, this is a different way of communication. And it's almost became my armor. So I did that for 7 years. And then when I turned 15, I started painting and taking that seriously. And, I was invited to be at Artists for Humanity. And that really grew my interest in my ability to communicate with myself and the world around me. Then after AFH, I went to art school. And then, by my second year, I started interning at a tech company as a social media intern. So then I fell in love with digital communication. So the pattern goes like wherever my communication interests went, I went. So that's what I did with the instruction. I was like, okay, explore this the way you explore your life. Then I started this off as a drawing. Let's explore it as an illustration to kind of tap into my passion for design. So I turned the drawing into a vector, and I started to kind of form and shape the lines. And as I was doing that, I noticed that with each zoom, it felt like its own picture. So I
Hmm.
started taking screenshots of all these different moments within the drawing, and suddenly I was like, "Oh my gosh, we should turn these into paintings, right?" And that's like honoring the next medium. So I went to the art store, found these 5x5 plywood panels, and started transferring the drawing, the fragmented pieces onto these panels. And, I just was exploring. I had no idea what I was doing. I was really listening to my intuition. And I was also hungry for like my mind to be taken off of all of the stress and darkness and depression that I was like in at that time. I was just excited to be thinking about something else. And so that level of exploration and that like genuine childlike curiosity led to this body of work, which led to um, the first therapy modality that I developed, which is Crown, which then led to the second, which is brand therapy, which then led to forming MindArt, my organization and company.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely awesome. Yeah, I was at my I was doing an interview, and I was telling the dude how I was like, it was with Pierre. It was actually yesterday, and I was like, dude, I say awesome a lot. Like that's my response when people say things, and I noticed that also at the panel. I say awesome a lot. I also say absolutely,
Yeah.
and so he's like, absolutely awesome. I'm like, there you go. He's like, just make it a catchphrase.
Absolutely awesome is a great catchphrase.
Yeah,
It brings a lot of good energy.
yeah, absolutely awesome. Yeah, sometimes I'm like sitting, like talking to the guest, and I'm like looking at how the light's hitting them, and I'm just like, did I
Yeah.
make the right choice here? I
Yeah,
don't
I feel
know.
like I look chunkier than I am because of the lighting.
Because of the lighting.
I'm not, but it's okay. I'm just a girl.
Yeah, self-conscious a little bit. No, you look great.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, you like transformed over the last few years.
For sure. Like I was looking at the last video that we did.
Yeah.
That was 2023, and that was like at the height. I was getting out of a really bad relationship.
Hmm.
We just weren't good for one another. And when I got out of it, I was also getting out of my 20s. And I think I just let go of all of these subconscious pressures that I didn't realize that I had when it came to my relationship with men. And I think women, we are almost groomed to condition and position ourselves for the likeness of men. And so, I, like, moved into my, like, first solo apartment where I was just, like, living on my own. Like, I've been on my own, but with roommates throughout my 20s, but it was my first, like, one-bedroom apartment for myself, and I remember just, like, feeling like I just didn't want the pressures that I had when I was 20. So, like, I ate what I wanted to eat. When I wanted to work out, I did. When I didn't, I didn't. Like, it was just, like, rebellious act of self-love, but it did turn into, um, really unhealthy habits as well.
Mm.
Like, and so I had gained a lot of weight, which is not I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it is difficult when that weight starts to affect your health. And so it started to affect my health. And I remember looking at those videos and looking at like, wow, I was so inflamed, you know.
Mm.
It was difficult for me to even practice what I preached at that moment. I wasn't eating healthy. My blood pressure was like out of control. I was in and out of the hospital all the time. And so I'm happy to be back here and to be able to see that transformation. I'm really proud of myself because at some point you kind of have to take a moment and say, okay, it's time for a change.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's great. So you mentioned that that dancing protected you from bullies.
Yeah.
How?
So, growing up in the 90s, I was born in Haiti. My family moved here when I was 5, and that's a whole other story. It's an amazing story, coming to America story. We actually like were selected out of like millions of people to win the lottery to earn like citizenship in America.
Hmm.
So very grateful. But in the 90s, and I mean, it's still happening till this day.
I need to put up a sign on air.
Yeah, you do. Mhm.
Yeah, so you're saying.
Sure. So, it's still happening till this day, but it was even worse in the 90s, this like discrimination towards Haitians.
Mm.
And so I got bullied a lot, but not only because I was Haitian, little like weird things like I had hair down to my butt.
And people are like,
Girls were not happy about that. I looked a certain way. They were not happy about that. There was just always seemed to be this like, hey, let's focus on her and let's bring her down.
mm.
And I remember I was in the 6th grade, and it was the 6th grade dance, and Usher's "Yeah" came on. And I was just feeling it. Like, I didn't even know that I could dance. I was just feeling, I had my eyes closed and I was just going to the beat, and I opened up my eyes and there was like a circle around me, but it was all of my bullies, but
Oh,
they weren't bullying me. They were all like, "Oh, she's killing it." And I remember being like, "Oh, okay, so this is how I protect myself. This is my strength. This is my armor." And I think that definitely became my drive for, I would say like I have accumulated a lot of accolades, and that definitely became like a motivator for me.
I got chills when you said that. Like, I
Mm.
was like, I could visualize it. You know, it's like you talked about how coming to America is that's a whole nother story all in itself.
Mhm.
And honestly, I could see you writing like a movie of that experience because I could see it. I could see that happening.
Mm.
Like I could visualize it in my head. You
Yeah.
close your eyes, you're dancing, all of a sudden like all your bullies are in a circle and like, yeah, that transformation moment.
Yes, you're not the first person that has said that, and it definitely has to happen. Hopefully
Yeah.
you shoot
Oh yeah, yeah.
it.
Um, so one of the things I like to talk about is land access,
Mm.
and another huge thing is people getting access to funds and resources. Um,
Mm.
and so I'm interested in hearing about the challenges that you feel, especially that Black founders
Mm.
face,
Mm.
because especially in America and other countries, um, but especially in America, like
Yeah.
I mean, the Jim Crow laws led like the Nazis were like, oh, let's base this off the Jim Crow laws, so like America, and this is kind of controversial, but America kind of were like the original Nazis. So when we see people waving Nazi flags in America, and people are like, "Y'all are fascist Nazis," and they're like, "No, we're not." And it's like, actually, you,
Like
you kind of are. You are, and it's okay. So I mean, it's not okay,
okay.
but accept it so you can move past it.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm curious about like what your thoughts are on those struggles,
Mm.
and also like what kind of solutions do you see that can make it easier? Because I mean, the whole like DEI thing getting scrapped and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of people in our country and in other countries too, like the UK, across the world, we're seeing authoritarian rise, and it's sad. But I feel like people have a hard time accepting like that even if they individually or their family didn't cause the problems, that the country that we're living in made mistakes and we have to right them.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious about what kind of solutions you see as to, well, first, I'd like to hear a little bit from your perspective
Hmm.
what that struggle's like,
Sure.
and then also what you think can fix that.
Sure. I think we're in a moment where a lot of systems are being exposed. And over the last few years, we've seen political shifts, economic shifts, instability, truth being portrayed as lies.
Mm-hmm.
um, and then, of course, impacting how funding moves, particularly last year with this current administration. And of course, these shifts have disproportionately affected Black founders and Black people and people of color, especially Black women. I myself was impacted last year. I had a really great, I would say, 3 years with MINDART. When I first moved to Boston, I had a lot of amazing partners, Justin Springer, who really was said, okay, hey, I'm going to take you under my wing and introduce you to some organizations. I did powerful work with the Boston Ballet, and then helped open up, Black-owned cannabis realty in Cambridge. Was doing some creative work with Dorchester Art Project just within my first year. And then eventually it grew to working with nonprofits like Boston Education Fund, the Boston Foundation and Bar Foundation and Embrace Boston. And in my time working with all of these organizations, I mean, I was young, I was figuring it out. They gave me an opportunity. They saw the value in my work. We created beautiful work. But I was exposed to the system. I was exposed to the inequity of it all. I was exposed to that. A lot of organizations, particularly in Boston, value creativity, but they don't know how to sustain it. They don't know how to hold it. And they don't necessarily know how to respect and honor the work of the creative, which I think is a reflection of what's happening in the larger infrastructure of the world. You know, schools were not created to educate in America. They were originally created to put people in a line in a system so that they can go to work. But again, that creates this dissonance with our deep, like natural human desire to feel,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I think that's a reflection of what's happening today. Like many initiatives that were meant to support diverse thinking and diverse thoughts and and entrepreneurs have either been uh, disappeared or the funding has been taken away, right? Especially in times where you need it the most. I mean, last year I had $700,000 in contracts
Wow.
that were being secured, and it was going to cover operational budget for the next 3 years. And in 1 week, all of it was taken away. The organizations that I had committed myself to, they were like, "Sorry, we can't continue," because they were impacted by the federal funding cuts. And I remember the day that it happened, I was connecting with a an investor for the first time who seemed so committed, and it happened, and they backed away, and it was like, damn, this is the time where I need you the most.
Wow.
And so all of that crashing down, and already knowing myself struggling with, having had struggle with mental health, and then everything that you've created all of a sudden pulled in 1 week, it was devastating. And I could only imagine that happening to so many other women, particularly Black women in the workforce. Um, Luckily, there was a silver lining, and in that time, I had also applied to a program with Goldman Sachs, and I got accepted literally the next week. So, right, like life brings you lemons, and then you make beef stew. Like, like things happen black and white. But that program helped me see things differently. I was one of like 300 and I think 14 Black women, And I remember the first day of orientation that there was women standing up and they were mirroring this same exact story. Like, I lost my funding. I lost my funding. And I was like, oh, I'm not alone. I'm not a failure,
Yeah, yeah.
And the program brought me back to my why.
Mm-hmm.
Why I was doing this. I remember, I had completely almost like forgotten about Crown, and I was so focused on the brand therapy modality because it kept our lights on, and I had people to feed, and I had business to run. But I didn't realize until I had lost the funding that like it was also stripping me of my soul.
Mm-hmm.
And there was and I was becoming a different person. I was almost becoming like the executives that I was helping change. So it was backwards. It was like the way that I'm thinking about it, the way that I'm treating people, the way that I'm doing business, none of it was true to my authentic core in nature. I was almost like I was conforming and I didn't realize it. So
Mm-hmm.
in hindsight, losing the funding almost saved my life. Sure, I'm starting like over in a way differently because now I have the research. Now I have all of the case studies. Now I have like this is what I've done, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have here's how much revenue we grew. But I'm back to I'm back to my center. And so that kind of brings me to this, like, we have brilliant thinkers and artists and entrepreneurs, particularly in the city of Boston, but the ecosystem prioritizes institutions over grassroots, like movements,
Mm-hmm.
and processes that are holistic over, well, they prioritize systemic structure over holistic processes that can actually grow both the individuals that are working within the organization and the organization itself. So we don't have a talent problem in Boston and in the world. We have a systems problem. And when infrastructure is missing and storytelling becomes even more important. And so the work that I do sits at the intersection of how do we help folks get their story out there and show them that walking in your authentic self can be a sustainable path, and that it doesn't have to be a quick path. It often isn't a quick path because the journey, who you're becoming along the way is the perfect person for when you meet that destination. So you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to rush. And this is like word to myself, and I'm living and walking that truth right now. And I wasn't before. So there was a disconnect, there was a dissonance, and I believe that's why God pulled me out of there. Because I think the work that I'm doing and who I am for this world and for myself is too uh, valuable to be lost in the mix of the problem that I'm trying to solve. Yeah, and I will say, like, the art of storytelling is that stories are what attract people, resources, and belief, which is like the foundation for any strong brand, right? Like the Fortune 500 brands that we see that are dominating and that are powerful, they're not selling a product, they're selling their why.
Mm-hmm.
My business partner Vince, who is coming from, he's been like CMO at organizations like Meta and BET and American
Wow.
Express. And I have the honor of working alongside him now. And both of us love, I think anyone who's in marketing loves Simon Sinek's why theory,
I was
which
just
is,
thinking that.
people
Yeah.
don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
Yeah.
And that's not just for products. It's also, I think, just the essence of life, right? So
Yeah.
storytelling really is the key, I think, to freeing us from this. And it's being used right now as propaganda in the wrong way.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Storytelling literally can either make or break a society.
So I find it interesting that I remember back when we were talking in 2023 about MINDART, that you went through this cycle of doing client work to keep the lights on,
Mhm.
and then going like, this is not who I want to be, shutting
Mhm.
it down, and then building MINDART. And
Yep.
it sounds like that cycle happened again,
Mhm.
where you started getting into that corporate um, like mindset and like locked into this reality that you actually didn't want.
Yep.
And then when that funding, dropped out, it's kind of like you snapped out of it, you woke up, you're like, oh, wait a second, this isn't what I wanted to do. And then you refocused again.
Yep.
So I find that very interesting.
Yeah. It's a pattern.
Yeah.
I believe that patterns show up in our lives when we have not, like, the problem's gonna keep showing up until we solve it.
Right.
And so it's a pattern that I kept that's like every 2 years, every 3 years. And there's this push and pull. There's a push and pull, and it's like, when are you gonna make a decision and long enough to see that it was the right decision?
Hmm.
And I think I'm at a place where I'm like, "All right, God, heard you." You know,
Yeah.
I 100% hear you, and there's obviously a reckoning and a transformation that I need to go through, and I have to put my foot in the ground and stick this out so that I can really be what I believe. But it's definitely a pattern, a reoccurring pattern, and it won't stop approaching me until I make a better choice.
Yeah. I've been experiencing something very similar with uh so I call it a fitness program, but it's really a human optimization program
Mm,
because it combines exercise from the book Happier
mm,
and creative challenges, and then gives people a basic understanding of nutrition and
beautiful.
fitness and exercise science,
Yeah.
um, and I've been wanting to roll it out for quite a long time. Um, and in 2016, I was like, well, I can't sell this program until I get fit. And in 2019, from 2016 to 2019, I did get fit. I leaned out and I was like, oh, I'm ready. I can sell this. And there's really nothing stopping me, except myself.
Mm,
Um, but then I think COVID happened.
yeah.
Yeah. And then, well, I don't think it did happen. And then, I got sidetracked. And then, I had another experience that sidetracked me as well. And it seemed like every time I was like, oh, I'm actually like fit enough right now. I feel like I can sell this. Something would happen. Like I'd either injure myself or like I would like get off track. Or something would happen, and it's like it keeps happening.
Yeah.
And like over like not last October, the October before that, I twisted my ankle bad. It's the
Yeah.
worst I've ever experienced. And but I didn't stop training because I was like, all right, well, my left side is like my left leg's weaker anyways, so I'll just start practicing. I want to be able to do pistol squats. So I was like, all right, I'll do that. I'll focus on my pull-ups. I'll focus on these other things. And I continued my progress so that by the time my foot was better again, that I was only a couple of months away from being able to do a shoot.
Yeah.
Um, and so like, because Troy's been sitting in the background, like waiting, I was like, do I want to do a Wolverine shoot?
Mhm.
Like when I get shredded, I want to do a Wolverine shoot. He's like, oh, I got you, I got you. It's like for years. And then finally I was like, all right, we're doing the Wolverine shoot. And I did it and it looks great. So I'm like getting ready to roll that out.
Can't wait to see it. You're so Wolverine. Like, it's
Thank you.
so that's a great photo shoot.
Thank you. Yeah. And, but I basically, I prioritize talking solutions.
Yeah.
So I did the photo shoot, uh, I think it was this past summer.
Mhm.
But I was like, with everything going on in the world, I was like, I need to get talking solutions up and running.
Yeah.
Because I had episodes
Totally.
that were shot. I was like, I need to
Mhm.
get that up and running. Now it's up and running.
Totally.
So now I feel like I'm about ready to roll out the human optimization program.
Super dope.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that.
We're gonna have to collaborate.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it fits really well with the third modality that we're rolling out.
yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
What's the third modality?
It's called Imagine.
Mm,
Yeah, it's a creative wellness center
mm,
that merges, well, one, it'll be a home for modality 1 and 2 to live, but it turns our processes that we've developed into a program that folks can actually walk through. And it's this idea of, a space that is a creative space, a workspace, merging with contrast therapy. That's kind of the last 2 years I've been doing deep research and immersing myself in contrast therapy and seeing the benefits for for the mental health and just human optimization, like you say. And
So, what's contrast therapy?
yeah, so contrast therapy is hot like it's going back and forth between extreme hot temperatures and cold temperatures. So,
Mm.
hot sauna
And
uh
then ice
and then
bath.
cold plunge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And being able to do circuits back to back. And what that does for the nervous system is like revolutionary. I have clients that I've walked through that come in with whether they're grieving or they're looking for solutions or, they have ruminating thoughts. And, we start the journey with breath work, of course. And I tend to start the journey in the sauna or, when maybe it's a steam room. And what the steam does, it lifts all of those thoughts. It brings its surfaces and unearths all of those thoughts. And so being able to, one, calm the nervous system so that you can actually think and hear yourself clearly. But in that sauna session, because everything is being unearthed, the value of the cold plunge is even better right after that. Because it's almost like you're unearthing all of the thoughts and they're rising, but you have the capacity to actually feel them without reacting. And then doing a 1 minute plunge, it almost freezes those thoughts and then it removes them. And
Cool.
so you have this like beautiful powerful tool at your fingertips to be able to one recognize that I am not my thoughts
Hmm.
and I have the ability to recognize them, honor them and release them and let them go. And so that I've become addicted to it because especially as someone who feels I'm an empath, I'm overthinking, I'm thinking, I'm underthinking. It's been a tool that's been life-changing. And what's cool about Imagine is that imagine having that at your fingertips before going into the work meeting. Like I was just
Mm.
in the sauna and I did the plunge right before I got here. I do it
Oh,
before
nice.
I I start my day. I am a little extreme. I spend like 4 to 5 hours. But that's just because the level of intensity that my brain processes, I know exactly what it needs to be able to get it to a space where my nervous system is calm and I can be present. But yeah, that I think it's gonna be revolutionary for folks to implement that into their work cycles. And I'm
Hmm.
really excited about rolling out Imagine, but it's working with practitioners like you who have programs, human development programs to be able to live in Imagine and grow that. So I would be honored to talk to you more about that.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Absolutely awesome.
um, so you talked about these support systems just
Mm,
dissolving because of our government change. I'm curious about um, what your thoughts are on how, like, what kind of systems, because you saw the systems in place. If you had absolute power to convince people
mm,
to like vote and move things into law
mm.
and change these systems, what would you say would be the changes that would lead back to people being able to get the support that they needed to get access to land and funding?
That's a great question. Which is why I love this podcast. So I think we need to rethink how we support creativity and entrepreneurship, starting with the education system.
Hmm.
Our education system is shit across the board.
Yeah,
I'm grateful for it though,
yeah,
because it's what we have.
yeah.
And I
We
am
have it,
grateful
so
for
it's great to
access to
have it. Yeah,
education. Just because we are critiquing and asking for more does not mean that we're not grateful for what we have, right? I think it's just a recognizing that, oh, there's gaps here
yeah.
and this can be so much better. We don't want to feed people breadcrumbs, right? So I think the education systems often separate creativity from economic opportunity when
Mm.
creativity is quite literally how we're here and why
Yeah,
we're here. And it takes a creative, like creativity and logic. I have these two paintings, logic and creativity. And when you see them, you might think one is actually more creative than the other. And it's because they're interchangeable, they're not separate entities. I've worked, I've had Crown modalities prove this, where Embrace Boston, shout out to Elizabeth Tablanc, She hired MINDART in 2024 to do an activation for a breakout session with 30 arts and culture executives. And so we had all of the crown paintings on the floor. We had a black and white set, and we had a crown color set, and we invited them to solve the puzzle. And you should have seen it. You have these, executives who are their most authentic self is coming out as they're facing this complexity in community, right? There were folks that came up to me afterwards and said, I'm in a position and a role that is like way more logical, but through this activation, I'm realizing that there's a creative urge within me that's not being fulfilled. I've
Mm.
had people who are like, I am in a creative position. And I didn't realize how logical my brain was through this activity, right? So
Yeah.
they're very much interchangeable. So education systems need to incorporate and stop separating creativity from economic development. Then you have the healthcare system. The healthcare system ignores the roles of creativity and healing.
Mm.
And I quite literally, with my work, dismantle that, right? Creativity is a part of healing. Creativity itself is healing. There are beautiful programs rolling out right now. And as much as I would love to shout out the art pharmacy program, I do have to take this moment to say Cara Ortega from the formerly chief of arts and culture in Boston, reached out to me in 2023 after I was denied a grant for the city of Boston, where I shared the art pharmacy process essentially at MindArt.
Mhm.
She reached out to me a year later in a private email, no one else was attached, asking, hey, you didn't get this grant, but we're reconsidering options. Can you share with us in detail more about your process? And I was so
Nice.
gullible because I was like excited, right?
Mhm.
Said, sure. And I developed more details about and sent her all the process, essentially the process at MindArt.
I have
And
a
this
feeling I know where this is going.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I did not hear back from her, not once,
Mhm.
after I submitted that. Instead, 2, 3 years later, rolled out the art pharmacy program in Massachusetts, which was being able to be prescribed, the arts as a form of therapy. And I remember when the news rolled out, I was so heartbroken. I felt silly. I felt dumb. But, things like that happen. And I think for me, in hindsight, it was a confirmation that I'm doing the work still. But I definitely need to call it out because it's something that a lot of people don't know about. And I will have my justice
Yes.
for sure, because too many women of color are inventing life-changing products and solutions and not getting the credit for it. So it's really important for me to claim that and name that. So that's the healthcare system.
Mhm.
Let me think. I think I had it written down a few more. Okay. So the economic systems prioritize profit over purpose.
Mhm.
But when you look at history, like art has always been a tool for transformation. So there's no way, like everything that's happening right now in society in America, which is the blueprint for a lot of different places in the world,
Mhm.
we're backwards. Music, art, storytelling, uh, we're culture drivers, right? We're
Yep.
shaping behavior. We're shaping thought.
And it's very undervalued.
They say.
Yeah.
So they say. They say it's very undervalued, but they're weaponizing it and using it for something else, something that does not go towards the advancement of us as people. So
How would you
don't,
say it's being used right now?
ooh, I would say, so propaganda is art.
Yeah.
Propaganda is an art form. Media bias, like media is an art form. Okay. The media is being used against us right now,
Oh, yeah.
right? That's an art form. Mind control. Manipulation. All of these are being integrated into the ways that we consume and into our communication platforms, right? Technology. All of these require creativity in order for them to exist. And so folks are taking the ways that we consume and the ways in which we communicate and manipulating it for their own messaging.
Hmm.
That's art.
Yeah. Yeah. That is art. Yeah.
Music right now, the music industry is being highly exposed right now for what for whether it's folks in power who have misused their power, right? Of course, we're seeing it in politics. We're see everything is being exposed right now.
Yeah.
But I think what it's exposing is that art and communication and language can be used for either good or bad.
Yeah. And right now it's being used for bad. And I'm curious. Um, I do see a lot of positive artists out there that are creating positivity. Um, and on one hand, I'm like,
Mm,
you know, I would obviously, I wrote a couple vision statements
okay.
for Talking Solutions, and one of them was a future where misinformation, manipulation is no longer a thing. Like it's
Yeah.
no longer done because it's just no one has the motivation to do that
Mm,
because um, personal exploration and passion driven creativity is like the point of living.
yeah. Amen.
Um, and I think the way we get there is by people who feel that way,
Yeah.
creating their art and putting it out there, and kind of having their positive art and creative expression um, kind of outshine the negative and the um, the propaganda and the art that's
Sure.
being done in a negative way. Because I mean, sometimes I get frustrated and concerned about, I see a lot of propaganda on Facebook,
Sure.
and that's actually another form of Talking Solutions, another type of episode that I'll be rolling out soon, which
Yeah.
is called the Daily Scroll, in which I'll be calling out the
Mm,
things that I'm seeing.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love
and
that.
I'm like, does it matter though? I mean, is it gonna do anything? And I'm just like, I mean, the fact I want to do it, that matters, and like, and having a positive voice out there matters.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about um, what are some positive art and creatives that you've experienced that you think are valuable counters to the negative that we see today?
Yeah. Well, first I'll say, creative expression is one of the most underutilized tools for healing society.
Mm,
And you can't heal the bad propaganda and the bad art without healing the person.
mm,
The reason why we're where we're at is it's a reflection of where everyone's at in their soul, though especially those in power, right? So all of what's happening in the world is a reflection of the individual, collective individual. That means that we're sick. So that means healing needs to happen on that place first. And how do you heal an individual? And I think this is why I'm so passionate about the work we do at MindArt with brand therapy. Branding is transformational work. Branding is identity work. A lot of people don't understand that, right?
yeah, they see it as like kind of like an exercise for a business, but not necessarily seeing the benefit as an individual.
Exactly. And brand therapy at MindArt is the idea is very simple. It's that experiences that shape us, even the difficult ones, often become the blueprint for the impact that we're meant to create.
Mm,
And brand therapy helps translate that blueprint into a brand and a movement and infrastructure rather than the other way around. And so when you get down, when you have an idea, if the idea is sick, right? For example, our government right now, they have these ideas, but the idea is sick. That
yeah,
means the person behind it is also sick, right? So how do you
yeah,
heal the idea? Well, you can heal the person. And so brand therapy explores it in three ways. And that's through mapping, that's through content development, and that's through storytelling and sharing it out in the world. And I've seen this process through a lot of different organizations and people, and they're manifesting it in their own ways. I want to shout out Catherine T. Morris, who is the founder of BAMS Fest. who is so passionate about bringing a different type of experience and healing experiences to communities. And what she's done with Bands Fest, creating community, activating the city of Boston and bringing out artists and celebrities that the city hasn't seen before, but also providing local artists with a platform to be seen, and a platform to express themselves, and a safe I know it's hard to say a safe space, but like a safe space for connectivity and liberation. She's a positive example of a woman, a Black woman who is doing the work, who has done the work, and will continue to do the work to uplift our community and our voices in a structured way, in an organizational way, right? So it still maintains this, like what society seems to associate like success with, but she's doing it through equity, through healing, and through providing space for the arts to thrive, right? I think there's also, there's several different individuals that are on the ground doing this work, like Rob put in work, who has been literally putting in work for like 2 decades when it comes to music and artist development. And I think he's now sitting as one of the executive, leaders at Dorchester Art Project. And
Mhm.
I'm always so proud seeing the work that Rob is doing throughout the community, and also the belief that he has within himself, right? You have in real estate right now in Boston, you have, J. Lucky Henry. Lucky is there are several Black, owned brokerages in the city, but he's the only one that's focusing on luxury, right? But his story is really powerful. He's from Aruba. He speaks 5 languages. He's a creative. He's a dancer. He's a boxer. He has like a really strong mentality, and he's passionate about bringing, what luxury tends to almost be for one culture or one type of person, or one type of like, once you hit a certain, tax bracket, then you can have access to luxury. And he's like, nah, everyone can have access to this, right? So there's art, there's music, there's real estate. Um, and then you have just individuals who are working within larger organizations that are committed to shifting the landscape in their organization. I said her name before, but Elizabeth TeBlanc, she's executive of arts and culture at Embrace Boston, a woman, a Latina who is like, okay, how do we, she's an artist herself too. We met at Mass Art.
Mm.
And so seeing an artist in a position that is in a position of power, I would say, that's also like really trying to maintain the gentleness that is required when you're working with creatives. I believe that she's doing really great work. So that's just in the city of Boston. But then let's get outside of Boston, right?
Mhm.
I've
Oh, before we go outside Boston, I'm curious about um, the gentleman that you mentioned that's working in real estate to make
Yeah,
luxury more accessible.
yeah.
So how's he going about doing that?
Well, I think he's doing it just, and this is, I'm not speaking for him, but I think he's doing it, one, by being an example himself.
Hmm.
He has several properties, and he tries his best to make sure that they're accessible to anyone,
Hmm.
not just folks who have a certain, dollar bracket. But I think one of his main ways of doing it is through his educational component. He's really passionate about educating folks who don't have the knowledge of like, what is real estate and how does it work? How do you get access to it? Even if you haven't worked, a traditional job in 2 years, there's a pathway for you.
Hmm.
Oh, did you know that these grants were available? There's a pathway for you. So I think one of his main ways of making it accessible is through educating the masses, and educating mostly communities. And unfortunately, it is community of colors that don't have access to this knowledge on how to do it, how to access it. And he's always finding different ways to create solutions for folks who are in need of housing, or in need of long-term generational wealth. And I think that's the campaign that he's pushing right now, is like, let me teach you how to have access to this generational wealth.
Hmm.
And he's not only doing it for others, he's done it for himself. And I appreciate folks who use themselves as the blueprint and say, and they're not gatekeeping it.
Right.
They're like, not only did this work for me, but I also have been able to train and educate, you know, hundreds of other folks. And I want to be able to, provide a pathway to that because we all can eat, we all can live this life. It's available to us. So I think that's how he's doing it, is through education.
So he's educating people on how they can access, how they can get access to funds and then get access to real estate.
Yeah, access to the available funding, access to real estate, but it's really before you get access to real estate, what is real estate?
Hmm.
What is it? Why is it important? Why is property important? Why is land access important? Right? What kind of freedom does it give you? Why is it one of the most important means of sustainability? Right? Um, what does it mean for a Black person to have ownership of land? These are
Yeah.
the questions that I often have for him, and he's spitting out, and
Yeah.
I fuck with that. Sorry for swearing.
No, it's all right. So yeah, you're saying beyond Boston, there's also some good stuff going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of great things going on. I know I said beyond Boston, but then there's people who are from Boston who left Boston and who's killing the game right now and representing for us outside of here. I got to shout out Vlad, Vladimir Samdi. Like Vlad is killing it right now. He is a part of Metro Booming's camp and has a really beautiful story. But Vlad is always looking for opportunities and solutions. He's an incredible creative mind. He's in California right now. And he I think Vlad's story is particularly inspiring because he's from like where I'm from and he's Haitian, but he's been able to use the gift that God gave him, which is the gift of language, to be able to connect with people, right?
Yeah.
And share ideas on a big stage. And he's doing some powerful work in the music industry, but also within larger brands, Fortune 500 brands. And you guys got to stay tuned to some of the things that we're working on together. Then you have New York. I love New York. I lived in New
Yeah.
York for 5 years. There's people like
So why'd you choose to come back to Boston from New York?
ugh, I actually went from New York to LA to back to Boston.
Hmm.
And it was only being LA, I left LA because I felt like LA did not have, so sorry, my LA people, but there's this level of there's like this lack of soul that I experienced.
Hmm.
And because there was this lack of like soul depth connectivity, I felt like my energy was being sucked because that is a space where I sit in. And so there was a lot of outpouring, but there was a lot being poured back into me.
Mhm.
And I cannot live in an environment that doesn't pour into me.
Fair enough. I mean, who can?
Yeah. And so I came back home, right? Because family's there and my mama's here, and my
Yeah.
dad and my brothers. And, but I was like, damn, I'm back home. Like, what am I going to do? And through navigating it, I actually went back to New York like after the pandemic. And then I came back to Boston. I think coming home is like it refills your cup,
Hmm.
whatever home is for you. You can also make home elsewhere, of course. But coming home refilled my cup, and it was really important for me to engage with the people who saw me since I was little and started pouring into me then, and then being able to interact with them and just be a part of that community as like my recharge. And then the last, 4 years being able to give back in the ways that I have. And I'm actually exploring probably leaving the city again
Oh,
just because it's no longer filling my cup. And
you need to have the cup filled.
gotta have the cup filled in order to fill cups.
Yeah, yeah. Because if you don't have the cup filled, then somebody comes with an empty cup, and you're like, I can't. Eh,
Like what
it's
if
just dust.
me moving in an empty cup is what happened last year, which is
Yeah.
why I think God was like, come back here, girl. I
Yeah.
start to get irritable. I'm not doing like work in the way that I want to. I'm not treating people the way I start to become someone else. And I don't want to become anyone else. I want to evolve into my higher self, but I want to become someone else. And so when I start to feel that, oh, okay, there's not enough energy here, or there's closed doors where what I'm offering is not being accepted, then I have to go elsewhere. So that I can be the best me and I can be the best me for the world. I also have to shout out a few more people. if that's okay, before I get out of Boston.
Of course.
Um, I really love the work that this music studio, Do Over Don't, is doing. I was introduced to Do Over Don't by my cousin, God, who's also an incredible artist.
Oh,
Um,
Gio.
yeah,
Yeah, I like
Gio's
him.
yeah, he's a really amazing person, awesome artist, and always someone that's like inspiring me and motivating me. And he works with Do Over Don't, and Do Over Don't is just killing it right now. They got a new studio in Quincy, and I remember at their old studio, which was in Norwood, and now seeing the expansion, like that's the shit that I love. But they're always working with young artists. Gio
Mm.
is always A&Ring young artists and the next generation of artists, and it's not just him, it's like all of the other artists that are doing it. I
For
got to
people who
shout out.
don't know what A&R means, can you explain that?
Oh yeah, originally the term is like artist and repertoire. That was like the original term for it, but it's essentially someone who works on it's supposed to be someone who works on the development of the artist.
Mm.
And so whether they are, you have some A&Rs who are like actually like writing the music, but they're often in the studio sessions, and I think A&R can evolve to a space where you're looking at the human development of the artist as well.
Mm.
And so they're really shaping they're they're extracting the thoughts, the behavior, the character of the creative person, and helping shape it in a way that the way that I think A&R should be is shaping it in a way that's authentic to the artist.
Mm.
But traditionally A&R has not been that. It's been like, well, let's just transform you into something else.
That's
Or maybe,
trendy.
yeah, that's trendy. And I think that breaks down the creative person. I think there's a balance between finding the light in someone and like excavating that and making that in the forefront, and also like finding something about someone or think something that you think that they should be and then transforming them into that. Like there's a really fine line there.
Do you think he
Um,
does a good job at helping these artists like develop from an authentic perspective, as well as like helping them? Because like I know with MINDART, you care a lot about the um, psychological state of people.
yeah.
Do you feel like he does a good job in helping them um, in that regard?
Because I haven't been around enough to, like, see the relationship, like, I've seen the end product, but I haven't seen fully in the process. I can't answer that, but I would love to invite him on here so he can talk more about it.
Cool.
But I
Yeah.
can answer what I'm typically seeing in the A&R community. I don't typically see that happen. Which is why I think the work that we're doing with brand therapy is so effective for creatives, because we're looking at it in both realms.
Mhm.
Like we're looking at the psychological, um, we're looking at the psych, we're looking at the mind, body, soul, and the resources. So everything that makes up a human, and being able to say, okay, if we grow in this area, how can we grow in this area? How can we teach you about money? How can we teach you about the contracts that you're signing? What does an advance actually mean, right? Like
Right.
what do you know about, music structure? How can we educate you in that area? There's some artists who don't want that either. They're just like, make me whatever I want, like make me into a star. I don't care.
Mm.
There's a lot of creatives like that. So you also can't always blame the A&R. That could literally be what the artist is looking for, because they want to fast track to their dreams, quote unquote.
Right.
So I don't know, but I do know that there's platforms like, for example, uh my boy Brendan just, launched a whole new platform that's like providing folks like equity in terms of like the music shares, right? Because
Ooh.
everyone knows that artists are not getting paid what they should get paid based off of streaming. And so his platform is so freaking dope. And he invites those who are listening to join in and make money
Mm.
off of it. But also the artists are getting a lot more. You can directly pay the artist rather than going through the streaming platforms, right?
That's
And
awesome.
he's from where I'm from. He's from Brockton.
Yeah.
So I think there is a rise. People are realizing that you cannot treat people like products.
Mhm.
You do have to cater to the soul of the person, and that they create better in that way. Like if we're really talking outputs and outcomes, like
Yeah.
people produce better when they're protected,
Yeah.
when they feel good, when they are healing. And this narrative that only heartbreak can produce great art is no longer true. It
Yeah.
produces passionate work, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's something that comes from being, the furnace is for gold for sure, but also there's beauty when you have a rested nervous system and you're able to create and think from a space of liberation. That also can impact the world for good. So I do think
Yeah.
there's a rise in it. And I do think A&R is like, I had the pleasure of meeting Lenny Santiago, who is an A&R to so many artists and managers. He's at Rock Nation, Jay-Z, and meeting someone who is so influential, but such a kind soul,
Hmm.
right? Like that gives me hope. It gives me hope that although propaganda is telling us that so much bad is happening in the world, it's only because they have access to media. Get out there and meet people and talk to people, and you'll realize that the world is actually in a much better shape than we are told that it is.
That's encouraging. And I've heard that too, because like on Facebook, obviously, like it's social media, so the loudest voices are typically the most like radical, and so you'll see people that are maybe right leaning or left leaning saying vicious things to each other, and but what I've heard oftentimes from people um, is that like, dude, like most of the people out there are not like that. Like people are a lot more center and like looking to connect and like
Yeah.
find a middle ground. Um, but on that end, I still do find I'm like, all right, I feel driven to be a like combat those
Yeah.
negative things and
Yeah.
like grab them and go, look, see this right here's propaganda. This is where it's
Well,
manipulating.
that's what I love about what you're going to do, because we do need to call it out. And I'm seeing more and more people being able to like, here's how you identify this and this. And like
Yeah.
BBC does it sometimes. I know they get criticized often, but they're like, okay, here's what's truth. Here's what's a lie. Here's what's AI. Here's what's real. And we unfortunately need that more and more these days. But I believe this rise in technological fallacy is going to bring us back to the earth and the trees. We are
Yeah.
going to want to crave human connection so much that we're going to walk away from what we've built for a bit. So that, because no matter what, this desire is the strongest desire.
Yeah.
And
Nature, connection to each other.
and as long as we have it, poor nature, we are fucking her up right now.
Yep.
And so, but I do think that when there is destruction, when things are crumbling, that means that there's something on the rise, and
I
that
like that.
keeps me going. There's always something else being formed. It's life and death. um when someone dies, a baby is born. Like, these are natural cycles. So like, yes, there's so much crumbling, but what is it making room for?
I like that. So you were mentioning some other positive things going on in New York.
Yeah. So well, first of all, shout out to Zoran Mamdani. Like, I'm a big fan. I absolutely love Zoran, and I will say it over and over again. Zoran's administration is 100% using Mayor Wu's playbook
Mm.
and doing a better job.
You
And
hear that, Mayor Wu?
so sorry, girl. They're doing a better job because Zoran is approaching it through the lens of authenticity. Now, I will say there's this potential that Mayor Wu can't afford to be as authentic as she's want to be, simply because she's a woman in
There's that, yeah.
politics. And I do have to give her that. That's a possibility. I don't know her enough to be able to say that that is what it is, but that is a possibility. And as a woman facing restrictions all the time, I understand that like it's hard to say like, oh, I can't move or navigate in the same way that he would, and then all of a sudden my stories and my words would get, portrayed differently. It's almost like the woman has to be even more polished to be taken seriously. And I
Mm.
hate that for us.
Yeah, it's true. That happens a lot. Like AOC gets like bad mouthed by people, and it's just like, but Trump and people like him are like way worse. And like the way I look at like kind of the Democrats and the Republicans are like, so I get fed a lot of right wing Republican stuff, and so I see like in the minds of like what these guys think,
Yeah.
and um, and they really think that the Democrats are the ones controlling everything. They're like the demon rats.
It is really weird.
Yeah,
They've been mind fucked heavily.
yeah, and like they call like I learned a new term, rhino, like Republican in name only, and so
Mm.
like they're just convinced that like the Democrats are running every. Because I used I started asking them questions. I'm like, so why do you think this? Like what about this makes sense to you and why? And then they're answering me. They're actually answering my questions, and I'm hearing these things that are illogical. So like one person said, well, I was like, if the Democrats are controlling everything, then how come Republicans how did Trump become president? How are Republicans ever making anything?
It's a cult.
Yeah. And then they're like, oh, well, they let a few rhinos in. And then I was just like, and then the Democrats control everything else. And I was like, all right, well, if that's what's going on, then isn't it more logical that the whole system is corrupt? That
Hmm.
it's both Republican and Democrats, that it's all part of one big problem? And I haven't heard back from them yet, but we'll see.
It's interesting because I, fortunately, unfortunately, ended up working for a client who's a deep, deep, deep Republican.
Mm.
But the reason why I said yes was because he came at the lens of like, oh my gosh, I want to help people of color.
Oh, that's nice.
And he's, a billionaire, right? And so I'm like, and he was Christian. And those things got me. But let me tell you, to my surprise, the experience was like extremely difficult. But what this was before Trump was reelected.
Oh,
So I almost got to see what we're seeing now.
wow.
And because of the work that I do at MINDART, we have this process called mind mapping, where quite literally my job is to go and understand the inner landscape of executives and executive teams so that we can identify blockages, surface them, and then provide solutions for them so that it's more sustainable long term. What happens is that means I can mind map an individual and understand their truest desires.
Hmm.
And sometimes you're mind mapping folks who have some bad thoughts. And the blockages that I recognized in this, Republican billionaire he was his own blockage. He was refusing to accept the truth that was sitting right in front of him. He had to feed into the lie because if he didn't, it would break his world view. And so a lot of times you see people
Hmm.
who are like they're committed to it because they've gone too deep, right?
Right. They can't go
They
back.
can't go back, and so they have to it's called, cognitive dissonance, like,
Yeah.
they have to create a reason and a solution for it, so then you start making up lies that you yourself, you start believing, and
Right.
this is not a new thing. Cognitive dissonance is something that has happened since chattel-bound slavery. I'm a student of Dr. Joy DeGraw, who is the author of Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, and, she really starts to break down that you can't have 400 years of chattel-bound slavery and only have those who are oppressed to be the ones who are like mentally fucked up in the world. No,
Yeah.
both people are mentally fucked up. And until there's like a strong reckoning and an acceptance of this is what I did, this was what my ancestors did, this is where I'm coming from on both ends, healing can't happen, solutions can't happen. But when you stay in the dissonance and you continue to feed into the lies and you're literally not looking at what history is telling you or you're doing things where you're rewriting it, then you're perpetuating the same issue over and over again. It's going to get passed down to your children. They're going to believe it. And then here we go. Here's the cycle over and over again.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting, an experience to sit with someone that closely and understand how folks who were MAGA or former MAGA, how they were brainwashed to believe things that were just completely untrue. And I
Yeah.
think it's psychology at its finest. You tug into the most vulnerable state of a person, and then you pick at that. We're talking about human development. This is it done in a completely different way, and it's like raging through society right now, which is why I think it's so important for people to have a control of themselves and their mind and of their nervous system, to have agency and to have access to tools to provide them agency.
So, walk me through the process of brand is brand therapy.
Yeah, yeah. So, a lot of my frameworks and my philosophy comes from feeling like an outsider.
Hmm.
I've always been someone who's moved between worlds, whether it's art, business, community, corporate entities, spirituality. I've like found myself in all of it. And over time, I started noticing that founders and creatives were carrying unprocessed experiences that were like powerful once they actually got it out, once they got through that, that blockage in the throat chakra. From trauma, displacement to identity struggles, folks were really carrying what I think was like the gold of their like story and their essence that would lead them to breakthrough. But they were like, it's the source of creativity and leadership. So I was like, okay, how can I help folks, get out of their mind and into their art? And I believe God put me in a situation where I was the founder. I had to find
Yeah.
the solution for myself. And so, when I was doing Crown and, came 2020, the pandemic happened and I was like, dang, I can't do these interactive installations. I don't want to just go back to marketing. How can I merge the worlds together? And so brand therapy was developed. And originally, brand therapy, it was called MAS. It's a 3-step process. It's 3 phases. MAS. It starts with mind mapping. And mind mapping is a tool that has been around for a long time. It's a visual tool for organizing your ideas.
Mhm.
And at MindArt, though, we use it as a tool for like emotional excavation and being able to understand the emotional landscape of an idea, of an entity, of a brand, or of a corporation. And we use informational interviewing, which is a form of therapy, integrated with like cognitive behavioral therapy and being able to ask questions that sit at a different layer outside of the cerebral layer. And as we're asking these questions, we either asking questions or we're using interactive activities or prompts to help people dive a little bit deeper. But we integrate breath work throughout the entire process. So similar to what happens when you're in the sauna and, thoughts are arising. We know that mind mapping work because we're going to the depth and like a different layer within the individual. We have to do that with care, really working with the breath and reminding folks that you always have your breath to bring you back when you're feeling a state of anxiety. And so we incorporate breath work, we ask the questions that aren't being asked, and then we always find a blockage. And once we identify the blockage, we pull from that and we create a strategy around that. We say, okay, this is what's preventing you from growth,
Mm.
right? And then we provide almost like a creative wellness treatment plan to be able to attend to that blockage. Once we have that plan, that strategic plan, we go into phase 2, which is called Mind Art. That's where we develop all the storytelling element and the content to bring this person's story to life. So that could be through, depending on what, the deliverable ask is, or it could be through visual brand identity, really reimagining the visual landscape of the brand. Or it could be through a brand story video where we're really highlighting the founder's story. Or it could be through the launch of something. Maybe it's the website. How do we share this story and reimagining this organization through web and digital media?
Mhm.
Whatever it may be, we develop all of that content in phase 2. Then we go to phase 3 once we have all the content and we launch and we share it out into the world. And that's really the powerful moment where now you have this individual who has removed their, blockage maybe in their throat or wherever it's found in their body. They've been able to turn that story now into creative elements, and now they're going to share it out into the world. So it's a more holistic process for brand development, so that we have more authentic leaders who are sharing their story, who feel confident to share it. But then you also have better products that are out in the world because they were made with intention. They were made through the lens of authenticity. They were made in trying to solve a problem, and the means of which they're communicating to the target audience is also richer, right? It's more direct and exact towards like what the problem is that this product is trying to solve for the person. So that creates a stronger bond between your audience and you as the founder, or your audience and the brand. And when you have a strong bond with your target audience, you have now just built a legacy brand, right? Folks who are dedicated and committed to you because they felt that your story or what you're developing or how you're developing is in alignment or mirrors something within them. So branding and campaign building and product building, all of it is about connection. It all goes back to human connection. What's your favorite brand?
My favorite brand, I guess, like right now, it's Sony.
Okay.
Because I just love the PS5, the cameras.
What about it?
So the camera, I like Sony's more than Canon's because of the body of the camera, like the quality of the build. It feels like a solid camera. Like it feels like a solid piece of equipment.
Why is that important to you?
For longevity. Like I'm the type of person where I like things that last a long time.
Okay.
Like if I spend money on something, I want to have it last as long as possible. Like I have a jacket that's like 24 years old, and yeah, I'm just like if I can have something last until I die, like awesome. That's what I want.
You tend to like products that are built with intention and feel that way.
Yeah.
They knew that. So if I could was sitting in the Sony, development department or business development department, they're like, okay, we're going to put a lot of our time into the quality of our build because we know that the people who want our products are also going to value this. So values alignment is such a huge part of like in the mind mapping process. We have this 3-circle framework that we do where we ask folks to write the name of their brand in the center, then their values, and then their goals, and then kind of ground it with the impact. And then from this mind map, we form language and we form like a brand campaign statement. It's a very powerful exercise. But the values is so important. And me and Vince go back and forth on this because Vince is coming from the lens of Fortune 500. And he's like, yeah, you can definitely use values to find your right audience. But sometimes values won't identify folks who just want to buy your product and they have no affinity to your brand. Him and I go back and forth on it.
Yeah.
Shout out to Vince though. But I do believe that values can help you align with not only the folks who are emotionally connected to your brand, but it also can align you with the folks who have like the actual means to acquire your product, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's like an example of values alignment, right? Like I am an Apple girl, no matter. It's almost like, listen, Android, they got some hot products.
Yeah.
Really good quality stuff.
I want a stylus.
All of it. But you know why I will never go there? Because I value user experience. And the user experience, I don't know, Apple's a little crazy right now, but the user experience for Apple has been top tier for me.
Yeah.
But I value that. So no matter how much you are offering this great thing, if it's not in alignment with my values, I'm going to have a hard time seeing the value in it. And that can translate to relationships. That can translate to everything. But I've matured and I've gotten to a place where I'm like, no, I see you, Android, but my heart is here because the thing that I value the most, this thing like provides a solution for that. And so all of those are different parts of branding. And now with Vince coming on and us partnering and us building something special, he's adding on a whole other level to the mind mapping experience and this idea of development of a brand house. Like once you identify your why, then you can develop your purpose. And then once you have your purpose statement, that sits at the helm of the house. And then you can go ahead and develop your mission and your vision and identify your target audience and your different means of communication. I'm so grateful that he's bringing that level of knowledge to the work that we're doing. And now we're able to package that up and actually provide it as workshops to the community. And that's something that going through the Goldman Sachs program really helped me identify. Like, there's a way to honor the 5 years of work that I have done for organizations, but we can do it in a lean way. And now we can just be the thought leaders in the space. And, since launching this new offering last month, we've already booked 5, workshops. And we just completed one, and we're in the process of one with an amazing agency called Ghost Note. And they brought us in for a project with an incredible organization called Understood. And we just did a mind mapping workshop, and we're in the process of now building narrative and building their house. We're about to do it again with Artists for Humanity and supporting 30 of the creatives and helping them, unlock their brand voice. We're exploring partnerships with a clinical organization called Alcanza, a clinical research group. And we're also doing a really exciting partnerships with BOGO Split, where we're going to be activating a workshop for the 30 fashion designers within the community at Copley, the Copley Mall. And then we're also going to be doing a workshop with the Boston Fashion Summit for the School of Design. And so it's exciting to see that what happens when you, one, let go of what's not working, trust and believe that God is cultivating you for something greater, and that you can still achieve the same amount of impact without stressing yourself out.
So how do you plan on maintaining that trajectory and not getting back into a
burnout?
Yeah, burnout.
Yeah, so it's a great question. It's something that I spent a lot of time thinking about when I was in the program with Goldman Sachs. And so first I was forced to look at what was working and what wasn't working within my organization. And I saw the patterns that was constantly burning me out. And it was that I was taking on projects without all the infrastructure to be able to see it all the way through in a way that was holistic and true to myself, and the way that the level of care that my team needed at the time. And so I think instead of offering these services in part, I was offering them in full without the proper infrastructure, and also becoming the agency. I took on the identity of the agency, which is something that I tend to do. And I give that to being OCD and a Scorpio. And I have Virgo all throughout my chart. So I'm I have to be, oh, I want to develop therapy modalities. Well, now I have to go to med school. I have to become the doctor. I have to be the thing now. And it's no, you can just partner with the people who are already experts in the field. So what we're doing now is, instead of us acting as the agency, scratch that, we partner with agencies now. And the agencies that already have the infrastructure. They already have the process and the tools, but they don't have what we have, which is this, very niche, unique process and this way of going about it, but they value it. And so I think that's why our relationship with Ghost Note is so well. They have, I don't even want to say they don't have what we have, because they are so incredible. But they do see this oh, this is a neurodivergent founder. They're bringing in a different level of expertise. Let's see how we can merge and work with one another. And so that's forming to be a beautiful relationship. The relationship that we have with Integral Studio, Vlad's agency, he's showing, okay, how to work properly with the music industry in a way where you don't get burnt out, where you don't get burned, right? He's teaching us that now, and exposing us to accounts that I could never, imagine working with. So that's really the beauty of partnerships. You don't have to do it all yourself. And I think I was trying to do it all myself, and I was constantly burnt out, and then my team was burnt out. And it was okay, one, let's partner with agencies, right? And let's just be that tier, that little part in there. MINDART has been bootstrapped forever. And in 3 years, I was able to achieve a level of revenue that my little, Haitian immigrant self, I was oh my God. And I was expecting for God to show up in those ways every single time. I'm every contract has to be 6 figures. in 3 months. Just because I had like 3 good years where it was like that doesn't
Mhm.
mean that it's always going to be like that. And then something happens in the economy and it's like, no, it's not going to be like that. So what are you going to do? Are you going to quit? Are you going to quit because the figure is not the same? Are you going to stop doing the work because the contract looks different? And I had to really challenge myself where it was like, okay, money comes in different ways. You're used to getting, in a 30-day cycle, maybe a contract that's like 150,000. But there was a one contract that you had that was, 17,500. And then you just closed a contract that was maybe 15,000 in 30 days. You have to see it differently. And also, what was that doing to your nervous system? Right. And so because I got burned and I was in so much pain, I'm like very much reminded of like what not to do.
Mhm.
Now it's like, let's build it more lean. Okay, we're not the agency. That means that we now have more time to be the research and to be expert in our crafts. And that means that I can take 1 month, one project, do really well at that, provide really great experience for my partners and my clients. And then, wow, more work is coming in. But you now have aligned yourself with partners and clients who honor your process. You're not doing it in the ways that they need you to do, and then you're burning out. So what if I get 5 of those? Oh my God, that's 100,000 right there. Same number, different pathway, better person.
Yeah.
Same number, different pathway, better results, better process. And so again, I saw this message from like Sarah, Jakes, that was like, you're so used to God showing up for you in these big magnetic ways that you don't realize that he's also showing up in like the small ways too. And that the small ways are the subtle ways that lead to suddenly it's massive. And I'm so grateful and humbled to be in that season in my life, because now I feel like I'm cooking. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm giving myself enough time to see things through and for folks to see me through. And it wasn't like that. I think, the growth was happening so quickly as a startup within my first 5 years that like I scaled too quickly.
Mhm.
And that can be a good thing or a bad thing. But now I'm excited to know that I can scale, but I can do it in a way where I'm not taking on more than I can chew. So we have that pathway. We have the workshops, being able to do them and giving us ourselves enough time to do the workshops, cultivate the research and the takeaways from it, and provide that to folks. That's also a really lean model, because again, I can do digital and online courses as well, and now I can reach more people. I can host a workshop for 300 people and do it in 4 hours, and the impact is the same,
Mhm.
right? So it's really like more about impact and less about quantity,
Mm.
and realizing that I can get to the same quantitative goals in terms of revenue by doing it this way.
And those are like, those are impressive numbers.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank
Like,
you.
I feel like most people are like, oh yeah, I'm just covering I'm making it. I'm just making it. Um, and like, you hit like multiple, like, 5-figure projects. I'm curious about like earlier on in your career when you went from like just getting by to really making, good money. How did you accomplish that? Like, what was that shift like? And how did you go from, getting started and like most people at some point in their when they're starting, they're just getting by, they're just making means, and then starting getting like real traction,
Yeah,
real money, and then you're able to go, you know what, I need to take a step back,
yeah,
even though you got all this money, and knowing that money's going to come back again. So I'm curious about that beginning.
yeah. Um, Shout out to my mentors. If it weren't for the mentors that were like strategically placed in my life since childhood, I don't think I'd have access to the mindset that money is available to me. as an immigrant, as a Black person, as a woman. And shout out to my mama. Like literally ever since I was little, I remember my mom being like, you can be and do whatever you want in this world, you know? And I remember her saying that, and it gave me like, it just created a expansion for me for what was possible. The first time that I experienced money, Goldman Sachs asked us to think about our money origin story. And I remember, you know, my family, we were immigrants in this country, like in the 90s, you know, they were working really hard to feed us. And they were like, all right, school, here's your money for school. And my mom handed me $100. And he was like, that's it. That was my school shopping money.
For the whole year? For the whole year?
For the whole year.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, bet. Do you know what I came back with? A pair of Air Forces. It was like $90. My mom's like, so where are your pants, your shirt? Like, and that was a really important story I remember doing that in the program, and I'm crying. So I'm like, damn, this is a reflection of my relationship with money, that it was actually in relation to how I looked. Which goes back to I was being bullied when I was first experienced money. So I just wanted to like have anything that can help me make friends or help me look cool. Right?
I see, yeah.
So when I started looking into that, it brought me back to like my money trajectory. So there's an origin story there, but then I started working when I was like 13, 14. And when I started working at Artists for Humanity, they shifted my money story. I remember I started to equate money with like status and also being able to protect myself. And so if I had more, then I would be respected more, then folks would see me differently. And so that was like in my subconscious background. But then AFH shifted it for me and was like, well, do you know that your value, what you come with through your gifts, has a value asset? And I was like, really? Yeah, you can sell your paintings. I'm like, people would want my artwork. And I sold my first painting at 15. And I think it may have been like $3,400. And, you know, AFH had like a percentage split. And so that taught me like how to, you know, partner with folks, and that, you know, if folks are providing you with the space and the products and the materials, and then they help sell it, then you split it, whether it's 50-50 or it's, you know, 70-30, whatever. So learning that at age 15, I'm like, oh, okay. And then I sold another painting, and then I sold another one. And then AFH also provided us with like an hourly paycheck. Like it was a job.
Wow.
But I was getting paid for my talents and my gifts. So that completely shifted everything for me. And I was like, oh, I can be in control of how much money I make based off of what I say the value of this is. And how do you do that? How much time did you put into this work? How much money did you invest in it? Like in terms of a material investment, right? What is the quality of the material? What is the size of it? And so that really started to teach me as a teenager about like packaging up and my value. And then each year, the quality of my work, because it's art, it went up. And so working with my curator, like Brenda Leong, I've known her since I was young, realizing that, oh, the value of this has gone up now. Oh, and the next year it's gone up. And now there's like only 4 paintings in my house that I keep that are mine that I'll never sell. It's my first 2 paintings ever, and then my first 2 oil paintings ever. And I've had them for, you know, now like 30 years. And, you know, when I become a big hot shot, I'm sure they'll be worth a lot of money, right?
You're already a big hot shot.
Thank you. They'll be worth a lot. So that taught me something. Then I started working for a startup my sophomore year at Mass Art, and it was digital communication. It was a tech startup. It was a fashion tech startup. And I remember going there, and I'm like, oh, this is different money. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is different money. I remember, you know, Gina, who was the founder of the organization, just seeing her as a you know, woman in business, and, you know, talking numbers of like I thought like 3,400, 5,000, like that was big money. And there was like 3 more zeros after that. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a completely different playing field. And then I started learning about profit, and what it means to make profit, and then started learning about investments. And I was like, okay, cool, that's different. Then shout out to when I moved to New York and I started working for Martin Ekachukwu. Shout out to Martin and Jeff Burrows. They invited me to, I swear I think I was one of their first hires. I'm always going to say that. I hope it's true. To manage like social media accounts within their agency. It was my first time working for an agency.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like different money. You know, at that time I was like 23, 24, and it was like for every account you're managing, you were making like $4,000. And I was like, oh, okay. Like I could do this in my sleep. Then all of a sudden I'm managing 5 accounts. That's $20,000 a month. And
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. For a 24-year-old, I had no idea what to do. Okay, honey. If I did, I would be a different person right now. If all the money that has gone through my hands, if I had the knowledge and of what it is, the knowledge that I have now, I would be in a completely different environment. But we learn and we grow. And so that showed me that, you can diversify it and that you can put a number per project. Mm-hmm. And then it just kept growing from there. I just was always around really good mentors and really good people who believed in me and believed and deserved that I should see wealth and I should have access to wealth. And they valued my ideas and they valued my time and my dedication and my effort. And I would get to a space where I was making a lot of money and then I had no money. Make a lot of money, no money. Make a lot of money, no money. And then I realized that it was back to that origin story. I wasn't keeping the money. I wasn't saving the money. I wasn't investing the money, because for me, it was all about like this, I have it because I'm still this little girl looking to be respected. You know, there was a inner me that needed to be healed. And I'm so grateful for this program with Goldman Sachs. And then once you start to have employees, and then, you know, you have capitalism that tells you like, well, okay, well, you're the founder, so you should be making this. But the folks who are working for you, they need to be making this. And I was so big on having equitable staff. I remember one time I was paying everyone way more than what they honestly should be getting paid for the work that they were doing. I thought I was Elon Musk. I didn't have Elon Musk money. You know what I mean? But again, I wanted to feel valued. I wanted to feel respected. I wanted to make sure they felt respected. Yeah. So it was always this like not a proper understanding of how money works and how it moves. But with every lesson is another opportunity to do it right. And so this time around, I have a much better understanding of money. I understand that it comes and goes. I understand investments a lot more. I took this past year to really dive into investments and working with financial coach, looking into my numbers, both professionally and personally, listening to my mom.
Shout out to mom.
Shout out to mom.
Moms know best.
They really do. Like, really listen to your moms, guys. You know, I don't know everyone's relationship with their mom, but moms,
but if you have a good relationship, you gotta listen to
it. If you have a good relationship, you gotta listen to it. And so now I'm ready. I'm excited for this time around. I'm excited to speak to investors. I'm not ashamed to say like, hey, this is where we were. This is where we're at now. Here's what happened. Here are my strengths. Here are the areas that I need to support in. Here's what I think someone else should manage. Here's what I can oversee this. You have to be super honest, especially when you're working with folks who are looking to invest in you, their time, talent, energy, and resources. I'm ready to show up as my true self, but also as someone who knows themselves and knows how to run and operate a business. I also took time to not be a CEO and work for CEOs, and that also taught me a lot about money. I worked for, like, shout out to Danella Clark. She's like the queen of money, queen of fundraising. Stepping into philanthropy also gave me a completely different landscape of money and how people who have acquired wealth, how they invest their wealth and how much that means to them and why they do it. So yeah, I've had a lot of different experiences with money. I've lost it, I've gained it. It will come back. It's coming back. And now it's just a matter of like, how do I dance with it now? That's the one thing about being in this work is that, and that's why I'm so grateful for like a partner like Vince, who I feel like balances me, is that I'm always in the mind, and I am always looking at why things are the way they are, but also recognizing that that can also be a trauma response too. There's like my personal, like me outside of my professional identity. I've had to learn the need to separate that. And that, you know, sometimes I'm always looking for answers or like solutions or like what is happening, because I've been in experiences where, you know, I've been blindsided. And so you don't realize that, you know, things are trauma responses. So it's like so important to have awareness within those moments, and then to be able to like let it go and then allow yourself to grow and allow yourself to just like experience life without having to know everything. But I think it requires deep intuition too, because you know the world can be crazy, and people not everyone has like your best judgment in mind. So that's a side note.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because like, so I've been exploring my like limitations, where they come from, like why do I keep getting stopped for certain things? And because I've been in like DBT group for like DBT. Yeah. So dialectical behavioral therapy.
Yeah. Okay, cool. There's a group instead of like one-on-one?
Yeah. So I'm in a group.
That's awesome.
Yes, they meet every Tuesday. It's run by this therapist at Arbor, and essentially she like runs through the DBT handbook. And I've been doing it consecutively every Tuesday for, I want to say like maybe 3. I mean, I feel like it was 2022. Yeah, so I feel like it's been like 4 years, and just there every Tuesday, and I show up every Tuesday. Yeah, and they go through the book every. So like we've circled like we cycled through the book. We just made it to the beginning again a couple weeks ago, and I was like, all right, guys, can't wait for the beginning. And people have come and gone like in the group, and she's like, love you, Jonathan. Thank you for always being here. You're the one guy who's always here. Like, yep, always here, always coming back.
But you've grown a lot from it?
Yeah. I mean, it's really helped a lot. Yeah, I guess like, so it's interesting that trauma response, like needing to know everything, like where does it come from? Because I found that like one of the things that I always feel like if I understand where it's coming from, like what's stopping me, then I can overcome it. And that's always been true to a certain extent, but at some point it's like you might not know why you're afraid of taking this step. And so it's like, you don't necessarily need to know
to do it anyway.
Yeah. You just go like, all right, I'm afraid about this.
Yeah.
I don't know why,
Yep.
but I know that the solution is taking this step. So like, what else do I need to know?
Right.
Just take the step.
Right.
So
I got caught in that loop, and it held me back a lot for me personally. I was like so committed to needing to know why that it was actually preventing me from taking the next step. It was like actually stunting my growth. Yeah. Like I got caught, I call it the limbo, where you're like, oh, I have to find the reason. And then now you're on the search for the reason.
Instead of doing the thing.
Instead of doing the thing.
Yeah.
And then you're now caught in that cycle and you are not getting out. So I think it is a balance. I saw a post today that like explained it really beautifully, or it was, I don't know if it was today, but explained it really beautifully that could actually be a trauma response. And as a survivor, you have to learn how to have the capacity for more, and rather than being scared and led by fear all the time that something's going to happen? Can you build capacity to handle the things that life's going to throw at you? And that's what I'm learning, like, that therapy really is. It's not necessarily putting a Band-Aid on anything. It's like, how can you be provided with the tools for more capacity? Like, stress comes up, but can you look at it? Can you tend to it? Can you heal it? Can you ease it so that it doesn't have to get in your way while you're on the path? It's always going to come up. Stressful things, life gets hard. Life is hard. Life is also joyful. It's beautiful. It's amazing. It's great. Liz always says, like, can you lean into this energy more? Like, there's all these energies and all these feelings are available to you. Fear, anger, frustration, joy, love. Which ones are you leaning into more? Because all of them can be true depending on which ones you make true. And easier said than done, but it is beautiful when it's done.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like with DBT is helpful in certain things. Like they have like tip skills, like ways of like stress, like distress tolerance. There's also like behavioral chain analysis. There's missing link analysis. There's interpersonal effectiveness. So there's a lot of great skills, and I think also one of the things is, so distress tolerance is interesting because it's like if you have like a bowl of ice water, like if you can't submerge your whole body in ice, you can dip your face in a bowl of ice water and it has a similar effect.
Yeah.
As long as it covers the temples.
Yes.
And so I haven't done that. But
it works well. Like sometimes I'll be in the sauna and I don't want to do a full plunge yet. So I'll just go out and I'll just
like toss the
water on my face or put my hands in there and put my feet in there, because those are the areas that heat up and cold up the most in our body. And so I'll just do that rather than dipping my whole body, and then I'll go into the sauna, and then when I'm ready, I'll do a full dip. It works tremendously.
Yeah, I got to try that at some point. I haven't done it yet because I'm just like, I don't really like the cold, but
I think you'll love it, especially if you've been doing DBT, because it is a stress therapy.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've personally like been struggling with, that I'm like working on overcoming, is like this need to have permission to do what I'm about to do. Like I have this thing I want to do, and like with Talking Solutions, like a lot of the hangups have been like, well, I mean, what are people going to say? And like, is this like, how's this going to be received? And is this even what I'm supposed to do to get the outcome I want? And same thing with, the daily scroll and like stuff like that. I'm like, is this really like, because like I always came back to like this idea that if somebody, and I work with ChatGPT, and I started with Claude.
Claude is the best.
Yeah.
I used to be a chatter.
Yeah.
And now, Claude is absolutely incredible.
Yeah. I think I'm going to transition over to Claude. Yeah. And like, it's interesting. It's interesting because like, I'm like, oh no, like how am I going to switch from ChatGPT? I've fed it all this information. I went to Claude and I was just like, here's all the stuff I've been working on. And then it like picked up like right where.
And you could also extract and export all of your information from ChatGPT and import it to Claude.
Yeah, I've heard that.
But that goes to show the sophistication level of Claude. It doesn't even need all of that.
Yeah.
But that's also then goes to show that you don't always have to try the first thing when it's rolled out, because it's usually the wonkiest and the wackiest. Wait for like the third, fourth, fifth iteration of it.
Yeah. And like I'll talk, like Claude like had a very good insight, because I was just like, ChatGPT to a certain extent has kind of become a problem in a certain, for me, with certain things, because I prompted it over time to become a very unbiased thought partner. But then it started to get to a point where I was just like, listen, I'm really frustrated with this post and I want to say this. And they're like, yeah, but that's not going
same here.
Yeah. And I'm just like,
and I'm like, just do it.
Yeah. I'm like, listen, I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear the lecture. I know it's not going to get the exact response I want, but I want to say this thing. And Claude does better. Claude, I'm just like, listen, I want to say this, I want to do this. And he's like, you should totally do that. And like chat also does this thing. And here's why this is good. I'm like, dude, I don't need you to tell me why this is a good idea.
What's cool about Claude is that Claude stops itself. It works really smart. So one moment I was like, oh, Claude, we need to make this change to something. Oh, and this and this. And it was like, how about you just, it literally responded back to me like, how about you just send me all of your edits so that we don't have to go back and forth? And I was like,
yeah. Claude did something similar to me where I was just like saying stuff. What was it? Oh yeah. I was trying to be able to figure out how to turn on my computer remotely. And I did the same thing with ChatGPT. I spent 3 hours on like Saturday, and I was like, chat, how long have we been doing this? And it's just like, well, about 30, 40 minutes of actual prompting. And I'm like, but when did this chat start? It's like 11:20. I'm like, bro, it is 2:30. I need to stop. What is this? And it's like, you're right. We've been working on this a long time. When I started the same thing with Claude, trying to like troubleshoot, I think about like a half an hour, 45 minutes in, Claude went, we've been spending a lot of time on this with you trying to figure this out. And we're kind of been going in circles. I think you should probably just move on. We're not figuring it out. And I'm like, thanks, Claude. You did better than chat with that. And that's also the other thing with Claude is I like said like, if someone called me, if I got a call from Jonathan from 2040 and he was just like, dude, everything that you've been wanting to do that you haven't done yet, the second you start doing them, every single one of them is going to work out better than you can even imagine.
Amen.
I'm like, if I got that call, I wouldn't waste any more time.
Yeah.
I would just like be getting on. I'd get on with everything I want to do. And Claude's like, well, that call's not going to happen, but that's a very interesting thing. It's like as if you need some sort of permission to do these things.
To like live your dream.
Yeah.
I love that you said that. It's a conversation that I've been having lately with like my inner circle.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't know this, but like my ultimate dream, I want to be a superstar. And it calls on to like my childhood stuff. Like I've known for the majority of like my adolescence is striving to be an artist, like an artist that is a household name. And then I fell into business and I took on that identity so much that I forgot who Wendy the artist is, and that she is powerful too, and that she can move mountains, and that she can have the same level of like financial sustainability. And I feel like that's the season that I'm back in now, but I want to be a superstar.
So what does that look like to you?
To me, that looks like all of the mediums that I'm proficient at having room to breathe, to grow, and to be felt and experienced. So I love to rap. I make music, I'm a dancer. And I want to explore and heal my body back through dance. Like I would love to have a one-woman show. I want to be able to like reclaim my sexuality through dance. Again, I want to paint, of course. I want to have really see the Crown installation series through, and to be able to have a warehouse enough to store all the pieces until they get sold.
Yeah.
My work as a creative director, being a part of creative direction teams and developing beautiful projects and installations and interactive experiences for the communities. All the products that I have and that I can make, my work as a designer, and being able to define and create solutions through design. Like I want to have the agency for all of the channels of creativity and ideation that I do have to live, to be seen, and to be felt in the world. That's what it means for me to be a superstar.
So like every form of your creative and thinking capacity, all creating and generating like revenue and views and
an impact impacting people's lives. Like I want to die empty. I don't want to be like, damn, I should have spent more time painting. Damn, I should have. And like, just because it could be confusing for folks. Like,
right.
I have
Like, oh,
this
they might confuse me with this. Like, how they don't know what I am.
confuse them.
Yeah.
I have this one post that was like me confusing everyone with my multiple personalities. And I'm like, and it's crazy because it's like my most viral piece of content, which is
Oh,
me being my most authentic self, where
well,
it's like,
that's
it
very
shows,
telling right there.
it's very telling.
Yeah.
And so like, if I can recreate that moment 50 more times and over and over and over again, which is I'm like building myself the courage to, that would be me dying empty. Like, fuck what they think. They don't know you.
Mhm.
Be who you are, die empty. Like that's I think my mantra from now to until I can. I've been hiding a lot. Being a superstars don't hide. You know?
Right.
they show up
They show up.
as themselves. That's what makes them
I saw an artist that
powerful.
showed up to a fashion show wearing a belt. Like, she wore a belt as a top twice.
Full self.
Yeah.
Like so an artist that I really admire right now is Tyla. She's young. She's 24, I think, 23. She shows up at her full self every day. Like, this is me. And she makes incredible music. She's also a painter.
Mm.
She's like, but she chooses this path that like really fulfills her heart. But she at any time can switch mediums. And she shows up. I think being a superstar is just showing up.
Yeah.
And so if I can show up every day, then I can die empty.
I like that. You know, I actually aspire for something very similar. Because I have a lot of different things. I actually create music, but no one knows about it.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I have science fiction stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I have comedy shows that aren't in existence yet. I have one skit that I actually filmed and shot, and it's hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
But
you
I
have this nutrition element, this practitioner element.
Yeah. It's like, similarly, I want that freedom.
What do you think stops us from stepping fully into like the full expansion of our identities?
I don't know. I mean, for me, it's like this fear of the unknown, of failure, because like I don't know what that life looks like on the other end. And also, I think part of it is getting bogged down by the existence that we need to right now to sustain ourselves. 'Cause I have so many things I'm doing right now that sustain me financially and to a certain extent emotionally, like, but not fully. Like, there's things I'm doing that as soon as I'm making enough money elsewhere, I would 100% shut down. I won't name them because they might be watching. But yeah, I just feel like I don't know. I feel like part of it is also just like for me, it's confidence. Like, I see people who are just like, they just like say what they want to say and they don't care. And they're just like, listen, I'm going to say these things. And I see people who like say things that are completely inaccurate.
With so much confidence.
So much confidence.
I mean, look at how the current president got to be president.
Yeah.
That's a level of confidence.
But
and
for
delusion.
you, what do you think's holding you back? Because I mean, I feel like right now, I mean, like, I personally am not making like 5 figures a month or anywhere close to that with deals. I feel like right now I'm just sustaining myself pretty much. And I want to get to that next level. I want to and I feel like to get to that next level, I have to release some of these things that are sitting. But I'm curious, like, because like when I see you, I see somebody who has stepped into like, you know, like to me, you seem like a very confident person in your art, in your creativity, and in your capacity to generate like wealth for yourself and for others, which is phenomenal. So, yeah. And so I'm curious, like, what do you think's holding you back from the other stuff? And why do you feel like you're not 100% living that right now?
We definitely are our own worst critic. So I think no matter how much output I provide, I'm always like, oh, but there's more. So that's like the one thing, being gentler with myself. But the one thing is that I just don't have a content team around me 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
It's no longer about not doing the thing. I'm definitely doing it every day. Like I'm doing something within one of my creative mediums every day, but I'm not documenting it and showing it simply because I don't have the time because I'm too deep into the work.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my next step. My next step is this round of wealth, you call it, that, you know, whatever work is coming to me, I'm being very intentional about, since I'm no longer the marketing agency, about being able to hire a really strong creative team that can capture my story well, and can capture my day-to-day well. And it's not just for others. It's not just for me to put it online so that others can see it, so I can see it.
That's powerful.
When you are in the do, you don't necessarily have the chance to step outside of yourself and see what you're doing. I want to wake up and be like, oh, wow, I did that painting. I can see it when I'm there, but like seeing a video of me doing it, I have to remind myself who I am every day. And video is like one of the greatest ways that, like an easy way that you can do that. Capturing the moment and being able to look back at it. Like, as I've been in this, like, you know, transformational season, these past 9 months, I started recording videos to myself, like letters to myself. And in seasons where I feel like I need hope or a reminder, I'll look back at my camera roll and watch these letters to myself. And they give me so much, because it's like Wendy to Wendy.
It's just for you.
It's just for me.
That's powerful.
You know? And I just started, like I shared one this past week, you know, and just like, because I took it all, but now I can share it with the world. Maybe this is something that you needed to hear. But also I wanted to show people, like, sometimes you're all you need. And so I think that's really what's stopping me right now. But it's no longer because I have the plan and process, and also no longer being afraid to like be on a podcast and share my mind and share my thoughts and my solutions and my ideas, and talk about the work that I'm doing. And like, you know, being in the entertainment industry, you can fall into the background a lot and you can get really comfortable there, and then it gets mistaken for like humility. But one thing that a pastor, Pastor Teresa Good, once taught me. She taught me the definition of humility. And humility is being exactly who you are. It's not high, like walking into the room higher than, and it's not walking into the room lower than. It's walking into the room exactly as who you are. That's being humble. So if who you are is that bitch, then you're humbly that bitch.
Yeah.
Don't be more than that bitch. Don't be less than that bitch. Be that bitch. And that like was a game changer to me. And I'm sorry I'm using pastor and then bitch in the same sentence. But that's Wendy. And so like stepping more into being humble. Like when someone says, hey, you're great at this, saying thank you. Not, oh my God, no, I'm not, no. And like shying away from it.
Yeah, my brother used to be like that.
I used to be like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah?
Because your brother's in industry.
Yeah,
right?
He's a photographer.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like a photographer for, isn't someone major?
For
Everyone's major.
A lot of major people.
A lot of like influential.
Oh yeah, like he there's a lot of times he's on shoots he can't talk about.
Yeah.
And like the lead singer of Korn knows him by name.
Yeah.
Like he told me the story once about how the lead singer of Korn like doesn't usually like doing shoots right before going on stage, and he was like kind of anxious about it. He's like, oh man, I don't really want to do this. And he looked in the room and he's like, oh, it's Sappher? Bet, let's do this. And so he knew my brother so well that when he saw him, he knew how proficient my brother is, how efficient he is, and how well he works with the artists. And he's worked with Korn so much that he saw him, and immediately just seeing my brother eased him. And he's like, yeah, let's do this.
That relationship.
Yeah. And so he's photographed like the two actors from Scream, like the original.
Yeah.
The guy from Jason, the guy from Freddy, the guy from what's that guy who was who like all these bees? Candyman. Yeah, and he photographs all these different bands and stuff, and yeah, he and he does a lot. Like he's kind of a workaholic.
Yeah.
To a certain extent. Like he's an editor of a magazine, he manages a band, any
Yeah.
photographer.
Unfortunately, you kind of have to work crazy hard
Yeah.
to get to these places,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. For me, like the whole point of talking solutions, I mean, the point of talking solutions is to affect change, but also it's a platform for me to be myself and to see if I can generate a career
From being your
from
authentic self.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the goal with it.
Mm-hmm.
So for closing out this session, what's next for MindArt? I know you mentioned Imagine.
Yeah.
I want to hear what's next for that, and then what's next for Wendy and the superstar.
Thank you. For mind art is at an inflection point. You know, I've pivoted back to our authentic self, being a creative wellness company, a research lab. We are rolling out Modality 1 brand therapy through workshops and community activations and bringing this, high level infrastructure and process to the community and the people that need it the most. But we're not singling out the organizations that also need the work. We're just exploring it through a more lean process. So our hope is to be able to serve, minimum 100 individuals a month through our brand therapy workshops, whether that's, organizations who are hiring us, or it's individuals, or it's us, doing that at a conference. Our goal is to meet that number. And it's really about being able to impact lives with this framework. Then we're also focusing on rolling out Modality 2 and more Crown interactive installations, and really fulfill this goal of having all 1,000 paintings in the Crown collection collected, so that we can invite folks back for the massive installation.
Mm.
But we are going to break that down. We had the first 23 paintings are almost sold out since launching them in 2023. And
Congratulations.
thank you. And once all of those are collected, we'll have our first, collective puzzle making experience, which will impact our research and allow room for more of this, creative wellness approach to be experienced. And then with Imagine Modality 3 needs a lot of funding and care. And so it's really like I'm pausing on Imagine for a moment. And side note, we had like secured 8,800 square foot space in Hyde Park to launch Imagine, and the week of signing was the week where I lost the funding. And
Mm.
thank God for the landlords that they were kind enough to like understand, and we were able to dismantle the deal. But that was really tough on me, and for a moment I was like, we're not going to do this, but we are still going to do it. I just think developing and nurturing Modality 1 and 2 will create a pathway for Imagine. But we are, interested in speaking to anyone who's wanting to learn more, and, folks who have, spaces available to be able to bring Imagine to life. So that's like kind of like the pathway for MindArt: more lean, more impact, staying true to ourselves and our nature, and being able and opening up the realm for partnerships, and no longer being in a bootstrap company, really getting into, pre-seed. And we also have an app that I am developing myself, actually. I'm coding it.
Exciting.
And so that's exciting to be able to bring technology to the process. And then there's a future for AR and all those things. For me, I'm starting to do work that's like not mind art. And I didn't think that was possible. And for a long time, my identity and mind art was like synonymous. And there are folks who are just like, hey, I know you have mind art and I love that, but I just want you.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, I'm down, And so doing projects as like just an individual creative director is like really fun right now. And the biggest thing for me is like I'm working on a series now where I'm painting women that inspire me for, Women's History Month. I also have a project that I'm starting soon when I have more capacity, where I'm going to paint every person in my family. and hopefully be able to have an art show and invite all of my family members, and as a way to document our stories and share our stories, and hopefully bring some level of healing through just, my generations, and bringing all of my matriarchs and patriarchs, aunts, cousins, and everyone's story to life, and also document it. So that's a project I'm really excited for. I step back into my dancing bag. I'm sorry, Ryan. I know she's watching this. Like, Wendy, where'd you go? I started working with a choreographer last year, and then it was in the middle of the program, so I got too overwhelmed. But I'm excited to get back into dancing and working with different choreographers, and learning my body differently. And I'm journaling more, and that's helping me so much. Journaling more, sharing my story more, being more active with my storytelling. And yeah, I think that's it for me for now. It's like stepping back into who Wendy is outside of MINDART, and realizing that there's so much value in that. And a lot of the times folks are wanting to work with me because of me. And they're wanting to work with MINDART because of me. But being able to separate the two and finally have like the baby start walking on its own, and I can have like my life back, is really exciting. That's something that I'm enjoying right now.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for having me, and these beautiful, thoughtful questions, and giving me a platform to be a superstar.
Yeah. Well, you're absolutely awesome. So
Absolutely awesome. So are you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us. This has been Talking Solutions. We'll see you next time.